definitely the longest episode of Conway's Corner so far, which is good, but it also means I ran out of thumbnail ideas. So, in an attempt to roll the chair back and throw up a thumbs up, it's just me kind of looking all blurry there. But, hopefully my disheveled bad hair day appearance and the weird thumbnail don't dissuade you from watching, because this is a section I'm excited to talk about. And don't be fooled by the title either. This isn't necessarily political. That's why I put the name of the author, Tom Perrotta, in parentheses there. But the book I just finished is called Election by, as I just mentioned, Tom Perrotta. And I read it at the recommendation of my dad. I made it known to him, and just, I guess, in general, as a New Year's goal, a resolution, I guess, of sorts, to read a lot more books, or as many books as I could in my free time, because I find that if I have an overwhelming amount of downtime, which certain days here I actually do, given my class schedule, I will spend a lot of it just sitting around looking at my phone, which makes me feel unproductive, makes me feel kind of lazy, and makes my eyes hurt because of all the blue light after a while. And so I always find that the best alternative for that is reading a book, because it passes time, it's entertaining, and I'm staring at something that won't hurt me later. And so Election, once I finished it, this marks my my fourth book finished in 2020, and I'm excited about that list and hope to keep it growing. But it was a really good book. I'd never read something by Tom Perrotta before, and I really liked the style of his writing, on top of just being well written. It jumped around in the story, first person. It was like consistently first person view, but jumped around in like short bursts between about 5 different characters. So it was interesting keeping track of them in that way, because each time you just feel like you were jumping into that character's shoes directly, instead of just an omnipresent third person narrator throughout all of it. And it's kind of it's a simple premise, a simple enough premise for a story, but sometimes the simplest things can be really good ideas, because it was a really good idea, I think, to take a story out of this and turn it into what he made it into. So it's called Election. That might be deceptive at first, as the very same title of this specific broadcast might be deceptive, because it's not a political book necessarily. It's about a high school election, and it just follows the contestants. Oh my God, what am I looking for? Candidates. That's the one. It follows the candidates. A girl named Tracy Flick, who doesn't really have a lot of friends. She has made high school just an extracurricular field day president and of everything member of every club, and winning an election like this for her, it's like a life and death situation. Like, her entire livelihood and well-being hangs in the balance when she's waiting on the results of this election. Then another candidate, Paul Warren, is a just generally, well-to-do, very well-meaning jock kid who never really has much trouble fitting in, being popular. He doesn't really have to do much campaigning necessarily to get the support and votes that he needs. And then the third candidate, a wild card, is Paul's younger sister, Tammy Warren, a bit of a burnout and social outcast who's running because she figures, what the heck, it's more of a stick it to the man, I can do this, it doesn't really matter, it's kind of meaningless type thing. And then it also follows the perspectives briefly of Tammy's former friend and Paul's girlfriend throughout the book, Lisa Flanagan, and her investment into the election, almost more so to get Paul to win. At certain times, she feels more like a campaign manager than a girlfriend. And then probably the main character, if there could be a main character, Mr. M, Jim McAllister, a teacher of these students who had Paul run for the election because he didn't like Tracy Flick and just saw a condescending, power-hungry girl who he just didn't want to win because he thought the students deserved better. And so he kind of got involved and meddled in the election. And that became more long-winded than I thought it would be. But the story just kind of follows them, the students, how they each run their campaign, and their like internal monologues about how they feel about it. The teacher, how he feels about the students, why he thinks he gets involved, a bit of his personal life, that kind of, there's like crossover between trouble in his personal life and his own moral grappling with the fact that he meddled in a high school election, which ought to be meaningless, but doesn't really feel that way. And I really have to give credit where credit is due for this book. It made me genuinely curious about the results of a fictitious election. Like, when the scene in the book came for the results to be announced, I was reading and like covering paragraphs that I wasn't up to, so I wouldn't accidentally skip ahead and read to see, because I was really invested in who was going to win. There were certain times where he vividly and almost uncomfortably reminded me of what it was like to be in high school. and go to assemblies or be the person on stage talking and dealing with that stage fright and not wanting to talk in front of your peers, even though you remind myself, like, I know these people, they like me, I can do this, but it's just hard. So he does a really good job at doing what books, I guess, at a most basic level are supposed to do and transport you to whatever they're talking about. And overall, I just really like this book. It's only like 250 pages at most, so it was a very quick read. I finished it in 3 days. I know reading for fun isn't really everybody's thing, but if you ever feel like I did in terms of needing an alternative to just scrolling endlessly on your phone to pass time, book reading is definitely a good thing, and I'd recommend picking up Election, if anything, because you'll finish it fast. You'll probably like it, or I hope you'll like it, because I did. And I'm excited to probably read more Tom Perrotta books in my quest to expand that ever-growing list of books read in 2020. And on that note, that'll wrap up this episode of Conway's Corner. I'd like to, again, apologize so much for the technical difficulties at the beginning. All is well that ends well, because you can hear me, I think. I just couldn't hear myself in the microphone and in the headphones. So I wanted to be sure that the fans get the best quality content that they deserve, of course. I had a really good time doing this episode. As I said, longest one, probably most substantive one, covered a lot of ground. This is what I want Conway's Corner to be. And I'm really happy about how this came out. Hopefully more fun, radical stuff will happen this week so I can fill you in next time. I'm hoping to have some guests soon. Jacob Cooperman, you mentioned interest. Brooks Thoden, Matt Connolly, Brendan Doherty. We already know when that Strokes album is coming out. We're going to review that. Oh, baby. So things are looking up. Things are looking bright for Conway's Corner. Thanks again so much for watching. I will be back next Wednesday, and I hope to see you there.